Chapter 2. History of the violence-seeking impulse. During the last chapter, arguments were made for the existence of the VSI. As a primary drive, it would have had survival value, helping early man face danger to hunt for food. In its raw form, the VSI was gaining reward from hunting and killing for food and/or protection. The gratification of this impulse would have been physical mastery and death of its prey. About 8,000 years ago, the imperative for hunting for survival began to diminish. This was at the birth of civilization. Cultures such as the Sumerians and Egyptians and those in the Indus Valley. In many of the ancient religions connected to such cultures, particularly the polytheistic religions, the world and their parthenon of gods are born out of fire. Out of this savagery and violent times, the gods install order, the veneer of civilization. Though society still had the same needs as the ancient cavemen, they were now better, quicker and more convenient ways of satisfying those needs. We continue to need protection, but no longer live in an environment where things other than our making are a real threat to us. Civilization has its own institutionalized means of protection, with the medical sciences and the military. In the case of the VSI, we no longer need to hunt for food. Naturally, this doesn't mean the drives associated with hunting disappear. What is the release for the violence-seeking impulse? I will now argue that the VSI is one of those once important drives that provided a wanting for something now fully satisfied by other means. There was one other outlet for aggression in the ancient world: sport. In Greece, no matter what the political situation, that often involved a lot of rivalry between city-states. The Olympics were supposed to be a time of peace. Scores were settled through the games. They took the games extremely seriously. The outlet for aggression and competition via sport was a cornerstone of their culture. The growing socio-political importance of the games here made sport enjoyable, both to watch and participate in. The aggression was toned down from the original impulse. No one actually killed any opponent through the games, but the enjoyment level and harbouring of the aggressive nature of sport grew. From this began the enjoyment of violence as portrayed in sport. The enjoyment was toned up from the original impulse. Hunting was needed for survival, not for pure enjoyment. Originally, the violence served the purpose of obtaining food and protection. In sport, the violence was a release of an unused impulse. The Romans were next to show a modification in the expression of the VSI. The Roman Empire enjoyed the gladiatorial battles. This pitted a real Roman warrior against an inferior enemy of Rome. The two would fight to the death, where it was hoped the warrior would kill the prisoner. However, the outcome would have an element of uncertainty, and so the anticipation of the kill fueled the enjoyment of the crowds. It is to be noticed that a lot of the symbolism used in this ritual form of killing are still displayed by today's sports entertainment industry. The majority of people enjoy watching violence. The difference in all of today's sport is that protective laws govern the aggression and the competition, the highest of which is that no one gets killed. Rules permit sport to be aggressive, but remain a tolerated form of release for the VSI. It is all right to do in a game what must never be done in real society. With the introduction of Judeo-Christian beliefs and the Western view that even civilizations evolve, the gladiatorial games became unacceptable. This leads me to believe that the VSI expression was and is curbed by the morality of the time. The argument is on the solid facts. The games were seen as a justice system. At that time they believed a different set of criteria that allowed the expression of the VSI to involve killing. That criteria changed due to religious morality. Thus the expression of the VSI was curbed. Man no longer fought man to the death for enjoyment of spectators. A different expression of the VSI occurred in Spain. Bataille, in his novel The Story of the Eye, paints a graphic representation of a woman's ecstasy when she attends a bullfight. Citing the anticipation of danger, the excitement of the watchers, the emotions and the risk to the matador, who by chance in the story is killed himself during the battle with the bull, once again morality stepped in to check the expression of man fighting animal to the death, and even animal fighting animal in the case of cockfighting. Religious morality locked up the VSI so tightly during the last 500 years that the impulse itself has spread to expression through other drives. The erotic and sexual are now areas where the VSI can be found, after emerging from the taboo of the later Victorian period. Originally, the impulse provided a vital role for survival. Then it provided an outlet of aggression through sport. Then it provided real danger and excitement. Finally, today, it may provide the need for escape, caused by so much moral curbing. Today, there are three main tolerated expressions of the violence-seeking impulse: dangerous sports, the horror genre, and violent video games. Each of these provides a means of escape and allows what society would not ordinarily condone. They also provide a place where doing these acts of violence, observing them, and enjoying them are not condemned by morality. The VSI is satisfied by understanding the meaning of the symbolism portrayed. It is symbolic violence because the acts are not always real aggression or unmitigated violence as they are made to appear. For example, one must suspend disbelief whilst watching a horror movie. Similarly, sports entertainment is choreographed simulated violence, and that even some sports like paintball are symbolic acts. Pellets of paint replace the real act of shooting with lead bullets. Despite these categories of expression I have presented, this is a very individual thing. Levels of satisfaction are different for everyone. However, I am confident that the brackets of sport, horror, and violent video games, mock dangerous sports and the erotic, will include a large proportion of the society.